We ready? We rolling? Roll 'em, Fern Doc.
Roll woo?
You've never heard of Roll 'em, Fern Doc?
No, I don't know what that means.
I think that was
bet
on
Ashley
Rocky
doesn't either.
I definitely don't.
Oh my God. I think it was on Rocky and Bullwinkle.
I know Rocky and Bullwinkle, but I don't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peabody and Sherman, maybe. I don't know.
Well,
Got to catch up on my cartoon watching, I guess.
we are rolling. Yeah.
Oh, hi. Welcome to Girlfriend's Happy Hour. I'm Monica.
I'm Ashley.
And I'm Melanie.
So nice to have you guys here. And are we sweet? We even saved a seat for you right here at the bar with us.
Yep, right here.
It's
Next to me.
Yeah, it's next to Ashley. Yeah, well, it's between Ashley and Monica.
Yeah.
You know, and if,
watch your stuff.
yeah, if you don't
Watch
wanna
your
sit by
valuables. We're grabby.
you can sit by me. I'm nicer. So I'm so excited that we're back here again.
Yes.
At the Podcast Lounge.
Before we get going, too, just want to thank everybody. I noticed we're getting a lot more downloads.
Yes.
And I love that. So I just have to ask you again, please share this with your friends so they can read it and then have them.
They're going to read the podcast?
Yeah. Somebody said that the other day. Where can I watch your podcast? It's not a movie. It's a podcast. But yeah, share with your friends and make sure you subscribe, rate, and review.
Yeah.
We would greatly appreciate it because the more you do that, that gives us more freedom to do things. I get merchandise down the way and all kinds of fun things.
Yep.
So help a sister out.
Yeah, help a few sisters out. We've got a kind of a professional artist doing our artwork, so I can't wait to get some T-shirts.
I know.
And some fun.
It's
I don't
amazing.
know, whatever.
Her work is amazing. So
Yeah.
yeah, very excited.
Yeah, she did our cover art. Actually, we, kind of snagged it from her and after the fact said, hey, do you mind if we use this?
Could you tweak this a little bit for us? Sure. And then I'm like, okay, now we need you to do this, this, this. I mean, I would love my next one I want to do besides t-shirts. How about cocktail napkins? How fun would that be for our audience?
You know, I was thinking cocktail napkins. We could even do like cocktail glasses
Yeah.
and different,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sky's the limit.
That
So
is
that's where you got to help
Definitely.
us.
Monica, do you remember when Mary Beth and Renee and Tracy and I, we would like collect those cocktail napkins and give them to each other?
The more
funny ones?
sarcastic, the better.
Yes. Yeah. Every time we give
Every
each
time.
other a birthday gift or
That
whatever.
would always be included. Yeah.
Always have. So what a fabulous idea.
You know, how fun,
I'm
huh?
I'm all giddy. I'm super excited about that.
And she hasn't even really had that much to drink.
No,
yet, so.
not that much. Yeah. Usually I'm pretty liquored up before you girls even get here.
Well, you have to test. You're the maker of the drinks. You have to test them.
the maker
so.
of the drinks. Yeah, that's what I do
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah.
I decided to quit my job and just stay home
Just
and
make drinks.
test our happy hour drink.
Ooh, I don't know if that's
I don't know. It sounds kind of good to me.
I wouldn't mind that at all.
I
Now
know.
my mind is racing.
You know,
now.
I've tried things like that to my husband. Can I just stay home and be a professional dog mom at home? You know,
Dog
he's
mom.
like, no, you can be a working dog mom. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
So we have our cocktail of the day here. It is called a Pixie Stick. So we're going to the sweet side
We are
today.
seriously going to the sweet side.
It's not usually my favorite, but I was trying to decide what cocktail I wanted to tie in to our theme today because we have a theme.
Yeah.
And we actually all kind of came prepared. So
A little
first-
bit this time.
Yeah,
I know.
right?
Very exciting. So
Proud of us.
anyway, it's very green. It's kind of like neon green.
It is.
It's pretty.
I put a sugar rim on it, but it's made with, and I made two different kinds actually, so we could taste the difference. I made gin mixed with Midori, which is a melon liqueur, and Sprite. Well, I shook the
shaker?
I shook the shaker. I shook the gin and the Midori up together, and then the other one I did vodka and Midori, and poured them in the martini glass and added some Sprite, and did a sugar rim before I poured it in.
Well,
If you've never made a sugar rim cocktail, you really want to rim it before you
because
put
that
the
would just
cocktail
totally
in.
mess up everything.
Rim it
Tip it
first.
upside down.
rim. I don't know. Is our podcast that raunchy?
Yeah.
You guys led me into it.
Oh, so let's taste our drinks.
Okay.
Okay.
Is this the vodka one?
This is the vodka one.
That's the vodka one.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Sorry, I was already drinking.
Whoops. Okay, no spillage. All right.
That is sweet, but good.
I like the sugar rim.
I did it just for you, Ashley.
You know, I like that.
Yeah, I went and bought like a few different kinds of sugar and salt and things because you had told us one time
I
you really
do like
love.
things like that.
He likes to sugar rim.
I like the vodka one, I think, more.
That's good, yeah.
But the gin one's good too.
Well, yeah, that's the recipe that I saw. When I was researching it, and I'm like, I don't like gin, but I thought, well, I'll try it. Maybe it gives it the right flavor. So I had to do vodka too. So we're just gonna pass these around and share. We'll each we'll finish these off here. In our Halloween episode, we were talking about trick-or-treating and things, and Ashley, she was like, when did all this scary stuff about Halloween start? When did people start being scared of, trick-or-treating and candy?
Yeah.
And I said, I think, tainted candy in the 80s. We learned about razor blades and the candy and all this stuff. And then it's like, let's talk about urban legends.
Yes.
There are so many freaking urban legends out
For
there.
some reason, Michigan seems to have the most. I think it's because of up north and the UP,
Yeah. There's a lot. There's just a lot out there, and some of them that you don't even. Like, I didn't realize this was an urban legend. I thought it was just really a thing that happened, but
About the tainted candy?
just everything, just urban legends in general.
yeah.
Just there's so many stories out there.
Well, when I was doing my research, I came across this documentary, and it was called, what was it called? Killer Legends.
I've seen that.
Have you seen it? Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was from 2014.
Yup.
And this guy, this filmmaker, Joshua Zeman and Rachel Mills. And they focused on 4 different urban legends, and the true crime created the urban legend around it.
Oh, so most of them are based in fact then.
Well, I'll tell you my story, and you'll see what I
Okay,
mean.
all right.
So that's what I picked our cocktail of the day, Pixie Stick. We're talking candy, and you'll see why it's called a Pixie Stick as I read the story.
Okay.
And I know we're probably tired of Halloween, but I got excited about it after we talked about it.
We just like this stuff. I don't know. This
Yeah.
is a topic that's near and dear to us. So.
And I think with a lot of people it is too. Yeah.
Well, so I'll tell my story first.
Okay.
And then I can't wait to hear what you guys came up with for urban legends. There are so many. I think we could do like a ton more.
my
I didn't
gosh.
even know which ones to pick.
I know.
I know. I kind of got. I do this. I got really scattered, and I started looking at a ton of different ones, and I'm like, no, I got to focus on at least one. So anyway, watching this documentary, Killer Legends, they focused on 4 stories. One was the babysitter and the man upstairs, which I think we all probably
the Have You
remember
Checked
that
the Children one?
Yes,
Okay.
the phone calls coming from inside the house.
Get out.
The Hook Man, which is
That's always
huge.
a fun one.
Oh, the Killer Clown, which I think we could do a whole episode just
Because
on
of
Killer.
Gacy.
Well, Gacy, but there's other things like
Yeah.
other clown stuff
Yes.
that we only touched on.
Which will put me in absolute and complete freak out mode.
Yep. So I love that. And then the 4th one they did was called the Candyman. So let's keep in mind, to qualify as a Halloween poisoning, quote unquote, poison candy has to be handed out on a random basis to children as part of trick-or-treating. It cannot be targeted to any one specific child. So when we talk about the urban legends of people passing out tainted candy and stuff, there's 0 documented cases of that ever happening.
I agree. I've never known even a single person that has had that sort of thing happen. Or a razor blade or a pin or anything in candy.
And I'll touch on that a little bit more later. So the first documented case of tainted candy was from Long Island in 1964. This woman named Helen File passed out napkin packets filled with dog biscuits, steel wool, and poison ant buttons to these kids trick-or-treating.
She did not like trick-or-treaters, did she?
Well, she was very upset at these particular trick-or-treaters because she said they were too old to be trick-or-treating.
Oh, so she deliberately looked at him, turned around, and went and got crap to
I've
put in
got
there.
special stuff for you.
Well, here's the ironic part. She herself had 2 kids who were 15 and 16 who were out trick-or-treating themselves.
Man,
Oh, for crying
I just
out
wanna.
loud.
She's a joke.
Yeah. So, I mean, I found this article in the New York Post from 2011 that did an interview with the girls that she gave these little treat packets to. And they said that she kind of teased, "Aren't you a little old to be trick-or-treating?" She softly teased, it said. Her defense was that it was a joke, and the poison ant things were clearly marked, and
You still gave poison to
You
children.
gave
Exactly.
exactly.
Yes.
It doesn't matter.
Exactly.
So when the police came, because she went home and the mom looked through the candy and found it, of course, right away. And if she had given it to like a little kid, they could have eaten it and died.
Yeah.
Or maybe the kid, they shared it with a little sister or something.
Yeah.
Someone could have died. So the police found 19 pellets in the house. She was arrested that night. Her husband told the cops the whole thing was a joke. And the police sent her out for mental evaluation at a hospital. She was subsequently charged with 2 counts of child endangerment. She pleaded guilty in the middle of her trial. The judge suspended her sentence, and she faced 2 years in prison. This sociologist, Joel Best, from University of Delaware, he pops up a lot when we're talking about Halloween urban legends. The term is Halloween sadism, when someone just randomly passes out. He says, "We don't believe in ghosts and goblins. We believe in criminals. We have revised what the Halloween menace is, from the homicidal maniac to a person so crazy that he poisons the candy of strangers." So back to the legend of the Candyman as told in this documentary, and you guys, it's really cool. So you should watch it. Called Killer Legends. And I think I found it. Oh, I think I found it on Amazon Prime, so I was able to watch it there. Okay. It wasn't on Netflix. So though the legend is prolific, in actuality, there is only one documented case of a child dying from tainted candy. 8-year-old Timothy O'Brien. Timothy was poisoned on Halloween by a real-life monster who used the legend to hide his crime, earning him the nickname the Candyman. Aww. Yes. Timothy O'Brien died at 10 p.m. on October 31st, 1974, as a result of eating a cyanide-laced Pixie Stick acquired while out trick-or-treating. So in the 70s, news outlets reported kids getting sick from tainted candy. Schools stopped celebrating. New Jersey actually passed a law specifying penalties for people caught contaminating Halloween treats. And then in the 80s, hospitals began x-raying candy for a free service.
Yes.
Ridiculous. That's a good idea.
And then they showed in the film, this commercial. There were commercials warning people about tainted candy. It was all over the news. Even Tom Brokaw was talking about it. So Pasadena, Texas, it was a rainy Halloween night. The perpetrator of this tainted candy crime became known as the man who killed Halloween, or to most, the Candyman. So back to Timothy. That night, after trick-or-treating with their friends and neighbors, Ronald Clark O'Brien allowed his son Timothy, who was 8, and his daughter Elizabeth, who was 5, pick out a piece of candy before bed. So Timothy picked out a giant Pixie Stick, one of 5. There's a sweet little photo of all the kids. There's like 6 kids sitting on the
in their little costumes.
In their costumes. And they all have these masks on. And he was wearing a Planet of the Apes.
Oh, that's heart-wrenching.
Mm-hmm. It was horrible. So Timothy wanted the Pixie Stick. The dust had clumped, so his dad rolled it around in his hand and poured it in his son's mouth. And then Timothy complained that it tasted bitter. So O'Brien gave him some Kool-Aid to wash away the taste. He almost immediately began violently vomiting. He died in the ambulance on the way to the hospital of cyanide poisoning.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh.
What happens that fast?
Super fast. Yeah. Like right away.
Well, and he's so little, too.
Yeah.
Poor little baby.
Little tiny baby. Little boy. They interviewed this man, Ed Goad. He was the retired off-duty, well, he's now retired, but he was the off-duty lieutenant with the police department. He received a call from one of his detectives. He said it was so disturbing. He saw cyanide foam coming out of the mouth. He described looking at a small blonde-headed 8-year-old boy, and he
in a Planet of the Apes costume.
Yeah, and he himself had a small blonde-headed boy in bed at home. He was, watching him was awful. He said it almost destroyed you to see something like that. So, and then he said the next night they had the grieving family he had to comfort. So he said he put his arm around the father and promised him, "We will catch that son of a bitch who did that to your son." Ronald, at the funeral, hundreds of people came out. Right. Ronald sang a hymn for Timothy, and it brought everyone to tears. He talked to a reporter and described how he held his son in his arms while he died and sobbed. And then the autopsy revealed that the Pixie Stick he consumed was laced with a fatal dose of potassium cyanide. According to the pathologist who tested the Pixie Stick, the candy consumed by Timothy contained enough cyanide to kill 2 adults. So that's why it got him so quick.
Oh, my word.
While the other 4 candies contained dosages that could kill 3 to 4 adults.
Oh, no. So the other Pixie Sticks.
So all the Pixie Sticks
the Pixie Sticks were tainted.
Wow.
Of course, the original suspects were the people who were living in the homes in the neighborhoods in Pasadena that they went to.
Right.
So police were taking O'Brien around the neighborhood, but he couldn't remember where they got the Pixie Sticks. So there's 2 differing stories here. one says they were driving by and he saw a neighbor, Courtney Melvin, out in his lawn. And he pointed at him and said, "Oh my gosh, that's the guy." Another story was that he led them to the home where they got the Pixie Sticks, but the light was out and the occupant didn't answer the door and the kids ran ahead, and then the door opened and the man handed him the candy and didn't turn on the lights. So he said he didn't really see him. He only saw his hairy arm.
Ew.
Convenient.
Yes. Well, Melvin was an air traffic controller at Hobby Airport and did not get home from work until 11 p.m. on Halloween. So the police ruled him out as a suspect. Nearly 200 people confirmed Melvin was in fact at work. So if there's a crime involved, you want to have 200 witnesses to your whereabouts.
I guess so. Boy,
First-hand
you want to get
witnesses.
yourself cleared.
That's quite the alibi.
So there were so many news stories about the tainted candy. And again, like I said, the Halloween sadist was a term that got used. People who gain pleasure from harming children. Well, in the documentary, it goes on to say the real culprit was more horrific than anyone imagined. It turns out it was the father who did it.
The father of the kid?
The father.
No. The father who held his dying son on the way to the hospital in the ambulance sobbing is the
Fucking
one
piece of
who
shit.
did this. Burn in hell, you piece of shit.
Yes. Shortly after the boy's death, the police received a call from an insurance agent who confirmed he had taken out a large policy on his kids. Not he and his wife, just his kids. As their investigation furthered, police learned that Ronald O'Brien was over $100,000 in debt. In the 10 years preceding the crime, he had held 21 jobs. There was all these. He was behind. His house was foreclosed. All this kind of stuff. His car was about to be repossessed. He had talked to numerous people about death by cyanide and even tried to purchase from local companies. Like he just said.
Dummy.
So what do you think about, giving cyanide to people? Will that kill him?
Yeah, he's not a brilliant man.
No.
Oh, my God. And he's the one who poured it in his kid's mouth.
It's just so repulsive
That
and
is just
disgusting.
beyond evil.
So they interviewed Mike Hinton, who was the former DA who prosecuted the case. They were showing a picture. He goes, "Look at that lying son of a bitch." And it was hard to accept a human being would do this to their own child. They thought exactly what Ronald wanted them to think, that there was some random killer giving kids tainted candy. He was even going to kill his friends' kids because he passed them out to the other kids. And turns out all of those were tainted as well. Well, we just talked.
And they just luckily didn't eat them that night.
Exactly.
And then they were able to get out. The police were able to say, "Hey, don't eat the Pixie Stick."
Yeah.
And this was not a case of Munchausen by proxy either. This was just flat out, I want money.
He wanted the money. Yep. Oh, in one article it said an 11-year-old boy, which was one of the other boys, who was given one of the tainted Pixie Sticks, was found asleep in bed later that night, cradling at the tube of poison candy in his arms. He had been unable to pry out the staples O'Brien had used to reseal the plastic container. Hinton said he didn't have enough strength to get it open. It just sends shivers down your spine.
Because he could have just died right there.
Right there. No one would have known.
He could have died too.
Wow.
Well, so then
it only took the jury 45 minutes to find him guilty and 75 minutes to sentence to death. But
hopefully this is in a state where they have the death penalty.
It was Texas.
Yes.
So yes.
death by
God
cyanide.
bless
Yeah,
Texas.
wouldn't that be something?
He'd suffer.
You know?
Yeah.
Let the crimes. Yeah, let it. Oh, that just makes me so angry.
That poor boy.
Yeah.
Oh, and FYI to the idiot father too. Thanks for ruining Halloween.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. And that's what people said. He was the man who killed Halloween. And according to Reverend Carol Prickett, who's the former chaplain who worked at the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, O'Brien was shunned and despised by his fellow death row inmates for killing a child and was absolutely friendless.
Well, that's the thing about even in prison, there's still
they have their
hierarchy.
standards.
Yep, they're still the lowest of the totem pole.
Oh, yeah.
And those are usually people who hurt children.
Yep. So I'm sure before they got him, he got a taste of his own medicine.
Well, he went to his...
but
He went to his deathbed never admitting he killed his son. There was a statement read by the prison spokesperson, which was just bullshit, asked to be forgiven by anyone he had offended in any way during his 39 years. And he prayed to ask for your forgiveness just as I forgive anyone who offended me in any way.
Oh, what a
What
backhand.
a piece of shit.
Well, so he never admitted to killing his son, but he also didn't say he was not guilty. He just tried to take the blame away from himself. in any way possible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So he basically took a scary story and literally made it true, you know, and he used that urban legend as a smoke screen as an alibi.
So as far as we know, literally no kid has ever been trick-or-treating and gotten a poisoned piece of candy from some other from a stranger.
Nope. And what when they interviewed this Joel Best, the sociologist at University of Delaware, he's done tons of research on this. He says you can't find any evidence of that. And they're like, well, then who's doing it? Because you can see it in the news. He says mainly it's kids pulling pranks for attention.
It is.
Kids
or
saying,
parents that are pulling pranks for attention. Yeah.
Yep. There was one other in Detroit, actually, a little bit earlier than this episode that wasn't as famous. This little boy had died of a heroin overdose, and it turns out he had gotten into his uncle's hidden stash of heroin. So then the family sprinkled heroin in the candy to make it look
to
cover it. Yeah,
What
but they
is
figured
wrong
that out.
with these
pretty
people. Oh my God.
Yeah, so you don't have to be scared of random Halloween people, but yeah, I think you still want to check your candy.
So I know I went trick-or-treating with my aunt and uncle and 2 cousins, and they still check their candy. They don't let them eat anything until they, which I was thinking, I was like, I don't think my mom or dad ever checked our candy.
And you know what?
I think we just got home and they're like, just don't eat too much.
Dump it on the floor.
Yeah.
Go.
Oh, that's what we did. We dump it all over the living room floor.
And then you start bartering.
You sort
Share.
it.
It's like, okay,
Or
because
trade.
my sister didn't like coconut, so I'll take your mounds if you take the Neckos. Who likes those,
Oh, or like Tootsie Rolls. Who eats these things?
Tootsie Rolls are the best.
Oh, dear God.
I love
Would you
Tootsie
ever
Rolls.
eat? Would you let your kids eat like a homemade popcorn ball from like a stranger?
No.
You know
I
what,
never
though?
did.
We used to have a couple of older women in our neighborhood when I was trick-or-treating, and they would make popcorn balls, and then a little thing, it said, made with love from Miss Helen. So we all knew who she was.
But you like knew Miss Helen, so you would like trust her.
Right.
kitchen
And the same
skills
thing
and
was
safety.
we had another older woman who would make cookies, and she, everybody knew who it was from.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I don't eat that kind of stuff. The same reason I don't like potlucks is because I don't know how clean your kitchen is.
Yeah, where your
You know
hands have
me.
been, if you even washed them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It said kids are 2 to 4 times more likely to be killed by a car on Halloween than any
Yes.
night. So,
Yeah.
yeah. That's my
So
scary
that is
urban
it's-
legend.
I didn't know
turned
that
real.
one.
Candyman. I was completely unaware of that as well.
Have you seen? I think I probably told you to watch it. Trick or Treat, the movie Trick or Treat.
I have not, and I'm going to write it down right now because I've got a little list going.
Okay.
I did watch a couple other movies you told me to watch.
You did?
in the interim here between our last
Ooh.
episode. Yeah, well, we won't talk about it, but I did see Gerald's Game and Monica, you told me to see Hush.
Oh yeah,
Isn't that amazing?
Same directors, so you did.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
I could see. Yeah,
Hush
you had
is
mentioned that.
Mike
but I
Flanagan.
Wonderful.
Mike Flanagan.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, Trick or Treat, the movie Trick or Treat. It's a good film, and it has there's a kid that swallows a piece of candy with a razor blade in it, so that just like perpetuates that urban legend just by that movie.
Yikes! All right, well, that was quite a story.
That's so sad.
Monica, do you have an urban legend? Do you want
I
to go next?
I
Do you want me
don't
to go?
have an urban legend.
Something lighthearted, maybe?
No, not so. No, it's this story that I heard a few years back, and I've kind of become a little obsessed by it. It's the story of the Watcher. It's in New Jersey, and it's been going on for a while. It's this beautiful home. Whoever owns the home, they start getting these threatening letters from the Watcher.
Yes, I've heard of this.
And it's still going on, and the Watcher now says that he has taken over being the watcher from his father, so it's now his responsibility. And they never say, you don't know why he's the watcher or why he's doing this, but he's just crazy as fuck, let me tell you.
Oh my God.
So here's what happens. The home is a very, very nice home. And the most recent one is, it happened last year, and it was less than 3 weeks after this family bought their home, a 6-bedroom house, $1.3 million. Oh, I'm sorry. It was in 2014. So within days, they received their first letter from somebody identifying himself as the watcher.
Welcome to the neighborhood. I'm the watcher.
Welcome to the neighborhood. 2 more letters arrived in the following weeks and all contained threats. 2 of them even asking the owners if they had, quote, young blood, a reference to the children. So the owners who have children then completely refused to move into the house.
Oh my God. Yes.
Yeah. So this is still going on. And what's interesting is so now the people who own this house are trying to sue the former owners who also had received letters, but they didn't disclose it.
Oh, for not
And
telling
now,
them.
so now they're saying, well, our letters from the watcher weren't that threatening. I'm like, okay, you're lying.
So it might not be like illegal for them to not disclose it, but like morally, you probably should have told them.
Well, real estate agent.
yeah.
I mean,
Or
seriously.
yes, tell me, is it
Because this
illegal
has
to not
been
disclose
going on
that?
because it was even before this. This has been going on.
Every state has different rules on disclosure. Well, on the seller's disclosure, it doesn't specifically say, is your house haunted? Do you have a watcher sending you letters?
Yeah, are you getting threatening letters?
No, but it's called a stigmatized property. That's what it's called.
Okay.
So basically, like a house that there has been a murder there, or maybe it was a drug house, or maybe
There's a
again,
stigma attached to it.
Exactly. So some states you do have to disclose. Oh, what is it? Someone just told me in Texas, on the disclosures, it specifically says, "Is your house haunted?"
That's why I love Texas. You guys are just badass in
But
Texas.
isn't that kind of subjective too? Like
Well-
some people would be like, "Oh no," and others are,
Right, because if you just say no and then
yeah, like
let's
the
say
walls are
it-
bleeding blood, and some
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh no,"
And there's
I don't
twins in the hallway going, "Play with me, Danny." Then yeah, you're gonna have a problem. Whoa.
They're like, nah, it's fine.
So anyways, now the couple has hired a lawyer, and the attorney in their suit is, like I said, filed a brief against the former owners. And then while this is going on, a 4th letter arrives. Oh my God. So the family's they're like, nope, we are not moving in. So they thought, all right, how about if we tear down the house? It's a lot of property. And then we just put 2 houses there. And the homeowners went, no. So they'd rather have the watcher threatening this house than, do something different. So now they have a renter who's in the house. And he, it's just a guy by himself. He didn't care. He's like, no, I haven't gotten any letters. I'm kids. I don't care. So here are these people sitting on this $1.3 million home and can't even move into it because the watcher is after threatening them with these letters. And now the letters are getting more specific as to what we're going to do. And they still have no idea who the watcher is or why in the hell this even started in the beginning.
Wow.
Huh. And it's fascinating to me that the psychosis of it would transfer from the father to the son. He literally brainwashed him as a child, and for whatever reason, it reminds me of that
someday
movie.
you'll get to do this too, son.
It reminds me of that movie Frailty. I don't know if you ever watched that.
Okay, making another note.
Make a note.
Trick or treat,
Yeah.
The
Frailty.
one with Matthew McConaughey, and it has I don't know. It's a good movie, but it's basically that where he's a father and he teaches his sons to do whatever.
Do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's crazy. That would
and
be
the fact that it's still going on, and that would just creep the hell out of me.
Well,
Can
just
you
because he
imagine?
says he's the son, I mean, it doesn't mean he is.
No.
right. True.
but
But it's
Yeah.
weird that it's continued on for so long.
Yeah.
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 How many years was it again?
I don't know the exact.
Oh, okay.
But enough
Decades.
that it's enough that it's
Yeah.
scare the crap out of people.
Oh my God, what would you
Especially with
do?
children. Do you have
Yeah.
young blood? Okay, we're not moving into that house. Even after spending $1.3 million.
I wonder if they've looked into past homeowners of either that land or that it's some
Somebody
disgruntled
maybe was
person that.
exactly. Did they have years ago was someone cheated out of something and in their crazy psycho mind thought, I'll get back at him this way. I don't know.
You'd think the police would be able to track that just with a paper trail of.
I was just going to say
You know,
that.
I would think.
I mean, get the DNA off the stand. We make it sound so
Yeah.
easy because
I know.
TV shows show us that. Oh, we get DNA
Mark
results
Harmon taught us
immediately.
this. Yeah.
Although I know stalking laws, because this is technically kind of like stalking
Yeah,
harassment.
it is, yeah.
Stalking laws and harassment in a lot of states, the police can't do anything until something bad actually happens.
Isn't that awful?
So they can't like, you know, everybody knows there's a stalker, but until he like physically harms somebody or, you know, whatever.
And I don't know
makes
that
an
he
outright
ever,
threat.
And I don't know that he ever has.
He's just being creepy.
But that threat is there. Do you risk it?
It's an
you know?
underlying threat for
Yeah.
the children, especially.
Yeah.
It sounds like, but
And you wonder, since they've been the watcher for so long, do they have like one of those crazy hidden rooms in the house where they can get in? Because that's
in the
been
walls.
alluded to. Like, I can
Gross.
get in that house and you don't know. And it's
Ugh.
like,
Oh
okay,
my God.
yeah, beyond creepy.
no
so,
way.
yeah,
No
there's
way.
the watcher. And unfortunately, not a legend, it's a true story.
Right, but scary nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Do they have a movie made out of that story? They probably
There's
will
there's
eventually.
movies called The Watcher. I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think it's the same
God, I
story.
hope. You almost hope not, because
But-
you wouldn't want to give him.
Yeah.
Well, here I am talking about it, but you
More
just don't want to
leverage.
give him that much glory. You know?
Well, yeah, because he may be listening to our podcast.
Well, you never know.
He's
If
gonna
you
find out where
are,
we live.
shame on you.
He's been waiting for us to talk
Yeah.
about him. He's like, finally.
If you do,
Finally.
if you did this, move to Texas, because then we'll see you put to death or
No
something.
shit,
I don't
yeah.
know. They carry guns all over in Texas. Then you'd be scared.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Oh man,
That's the Watcher.
That's a good one.
Thank you. Creeps me out. That's why I did it.
So we kind of thought ahead of time about what do we want our theme to be, and we talked about urban legends. And I was really trying to find one that meant a lot to me, or I grew up with. Well, I meant a lot. That sounds bad, but something that has interested me. And I've always been really fascinated with like cryptozoology.
I have.
Oh, I think that's
I don't
it.
know what that is.
Yeah,
I think that was
cryptozoology.
it. Yeah.
Basically, things like Bigfoot and
Oh.
and Loch Ness Monster and the Jersey Devil and like creatures.
Yes.
So that are like urban legends that are out there, because I think that's fascinating. That's something that, you know, I don't know if we'll never prove it or disprove it. I think it's just always going to be out there as like, what if it really, you know. And so I decided to stick close to home and talk about the Michigan Dogman.
Ooh.
So the Michigan Dogman is kind of like Michigan's cross between like a werewolf and like a Bigfoot type of creature.
Right.
So like it's a dog man, but you know, and I first discovered this. I was at the East Lansing Art Festival a few years back with my friend Emily, and we came upon this guy's booth, and he had written a book about the Michigan Dogman, and he was selling DVDs with, it was different interviews, and there's a song that I'll talk about, and different like found footage type of things on it. So I was fascinated with it for so long, and nobody's really heard of it. I don't think it's not.
I haven't.
It's not like he hasn't attained Bigfoot status yet.
No. And probably because he's just mostly in like, I think Michigan and I think Wisconsin too. There's been sightings,
Yeah.
but
Well, again, this podcast is going to thrust him into fame.
yes,
Here
exactly.
we go again.
So I'll read this little article. So the Michigan Dogman is here's that word again, cryptozoological.
Sounds good.
I don't know.
Cryptozoo guy.
Cryptozoological creature allegedly first reported in 1887 in Wexford County, Michigan. The creature is described as a 7-foot-tall, blue-eyed or amber-eyed, bipedal canine-like animal with the torso of a man and a fearsome howl that sounds like a human scream. According to legends, the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle that falls on years ending in 7.
That's this year.
This year. I couldn't find any updated articles saying whether there's been sightings this year, since this would be a year he would come, but I don't know. But sightings have been reported in several locations throughout Michigan, primarily in the northwestern quadrant of the Lower Peninsula. In 1987, the legend of the Michigan Dogman gained popularity when a disc jockey, Steve Cook, at WTCM-FM recorded a song about the creature and its reported sightings.
Oh.
So I'll go a little bit into the song, because that's really why it's even a thing now, because it was just a very, like, people would have these sightings, but it never went anywhere until this guy decided to make it into like a Halloween special.
Mm-hmm. So wait, you said northwestern, so that's like Sleeping Bear, like huge forest areas
Yep.
and things like
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
Yep.
Cool. cool.
So in 1987, so 100 years after the first reported sighting of the creature, Steve Cook, disc jockey in Traverse City, Michigan, recorded a song titled "The Legend," which he initially played as an April Fool's Day joke. So it was April Fool's, not a Halloween. He based the songs on myths and legends from around North America and had never heard of the actual Michigan Dogman at the time of the recording.
Oh, wow.
So this is a quote from him. He said, "I made it up completely from my own imagination as an April Fool's prank for the radio and stumbled my way to a legend that goes back all the way to Native American times." Cook maintains his skepticism about the possibility of a real Dogman, and he had this to say about the matter. He said, "I'm tremendously skeptical because I've sort of seen the way folklore becomes built from the creation of this song to what it's turned into. Mm-hmm. But I do believe people who think they saw something really did see something. I also think the Dogman provides them with an avenue to explain what they couldn't explain for themselves." So it's kind of like what we talked about, how an urban legend becomes an urban legend.
Yes.
Right.
So it just kind of builds on from one initial...
And once it gets out and somebody reports, then somebody else mysteriously sees it
They're
as
like,
well.
well,
It's
I've
like,
seen
I
it
want in
too,
on
and
this.
I've
I want to
seen
see
it
it
too.
too.
Yeah.
Like that childhood game of like telephone where you whisper
Yeah.
in someone's ear and then you go around the circle and it's something totally different.
Yeah.
Or added onto it.
Yeah.
Starts with like, Melanie got her haircut to Melanie lost her head.
Right. It's gone.
Yeah.
So after he played the song on air, Cook received calls from listeners who said they had encountered a similar creature. In the next weeks after Cook first played the song, it was the most requested song on the station. He also sold cassettes of the songs for $4 and donated proceeds from the single to an animal shelter. So that was nice.
Good
of him.
man.
Yes. So over the years, Cook has received more than 100 reports of the creature's existence. And in March 2010, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this show. I've watched it. The creature was featured in an episode of Monster Quest.
I do watch that
So
one.
if you've ever seen it,
Yeah.
back in 2010, they covered the Michigan Dogman.
I think I did way back when.
Yeah.
I don't know if I saw that episode, but I remember the show.
Yeah, so that was a pretty good episode. Interesting. So a little history on him. The creature was unknown to most of the modern world until very late in the 20th century. It's said to have been stalking the area around the Manistee River since the days when the Odawa tribes lived there. Mm-hmm. Authentic sources for sightings made prior to 1987, however, have never been documented beyond Steve Cook's song, which we talked about. The first alleged encounter of the Michigan Dogman occurred in 1887 when two lumberjacks saw a creature which they described as having a man's body and a dog's head. It has also been spotted many times in the Upper Peninsula by locals. Horses that had died of fright were found nearby, surrounded by dog tracks.
Okay, question.
Mm-hmm.
How does he get from the Lower Peninsula to the Upper Peninsula? Does he swim the straits or does he walk across the Mackinac Bridge?
He probably walks across. No,
La, la,
no, I
la.
don't.
Paces
And
of
that's
the
why.
feet.
And there you go, right there. There's a plot hole right there. Why? But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's multiple all over.
Oh,
my
there
God.
you go.
Or
They're
maybe he
everywhere.
waits till there's like it freezes, and then he like
that's true.
right across.
Which is
Well, he probably just hops on Sheplers.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
just like
It's quicker.
one
Yeah.
ticket, please.
Yeah.
They're not real creative with the name either. The
Dogman.
Dogman.
Dog man.
It's pretty straightforward. I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably just some really unfortunately homely man.
I know,
You know,
poor
with
guy.
Really
Poor
hairy guy.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, I can't help
Can't get a
it,
date,
man.
so I'll just be the dog man.
In 1937, in Paris, Michigan, Robert Fortney was attacked by 5 wild dogs and said that one of the 5 walked on 2 legs. Reports of similar creatures also came from Allegan County in the 1950s and in Manistee and Cross Village in 1967.
Ooh, have you ever been to Cross Village? That's
No.
remote. What
Well,
year
that
did you
would
say?
be-
67?
In 67, yep.
Oh,
Where's
yeah.
that? What is Cross
Oh,
Village?
it's way. It's here in Michigan.
She's showing a hand.
Yeah.
That's what we do in Michigan. Point to your
Show her
hand.
the hand. Yeah, that we vacationed there one time, and it was remote 7 years ago. Let alone,
Let alone in the 60s.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Oh, and plus, if I was attacked by 5 wild dogs, I think my mind would probably freak out too. And
You would just imagine
Yeah.
the worst. And
Yeah.
like, one of them walked on 2 legs.
He just wanted a treat.
Yeah.
He's begging for a treat. Let me have his liver.
mine.
dibs on his pancreas.
Yes, we are laughing at others' misery.
There we go. And let's see. Oh, so Linda S. Godfrey, in her book, The Beast of Bray Road, which I've seen that movie. It's not very good, but
Okay.
compares the Manistee sightings to a similar creature sighted in Wisconsin known as the Beast of Bray Road. So
That's a little more creative
Yeah.
than the Dogman.
than the Dogman.
Yeah.
All right, and for those of you interested, here is a little snippet of the legend, the song.
Legends are born of stories told, imagination without restriction. But what does a legend become when the truth outruns the fiction? The decades come, the decades go, people still swear they see. Interlock and Reed City, Mackinac, there was something looking back at me. And somewhere in the Northwoods darkness, a creature walks upright. And the best advice you may ever get is don't go out at night.
So now we all know the legend of the Dogman, thanks
Legend
to
of
that
the Dogman.
long song.
Yeah, so you can find that song on
Find it on YouTube,
Yeah.
and you can also look at some of the footage of the documented cases. I know,
Actual footage.
yeah, I know some of them are I think already proven as hoaxes, but some aren't. So just check it out and see what you think.
Okay.
Awesome.
Oh, that's
That is
interesting.
the
Oh
Michigan
my God,
Dogman.
thank you,
That was very
Ashley.
cool.
I
You're
have
welcome.
never
was very cool.
heard that. Michigan, again, there's so much history, especially up north with the Indian legends and
But there's-
things.
Yeah, and
so many
still
legends.
So much just deep forest. and
Oh, so much.
you never know what is existing up there.
I always get creeped out by, and it reminds me of like with the howl sounding like a human scream, like the Wendigo, I think it was. We always read
Yep.
about as
A
kids.
Wendigo.
Yep.
Or Wendigo. Is that how you
Wendigo,
say it?
yep.
Wendigo.
Oh, that's how Sam and Dean pronounce it. Sorry.
yeah.
You would know
Everything
that.
goes back to
And
the
then, whatever
Wendigo.
they
Sorry.
say is right. So we
Yeah.
know that.
Yeah, the Wendigo always kind of freaked me out as a kid because I just thought like Native American legends, I don't know, those seem more realistic. And then
Yeah.
on top of like burial grounds and things that,
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
So I always kind of took those legends more as true than anything. So
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, talk about legends. Everyone knows my favorite show is Supernatural. Watch the first season. I mean, they talk about all kinds of urban legends. That's
Yeah.
how the show started.
Yes.
Was them hunting down these urban legends like Bloody Mary and the woman
Oh,
in white.
that was a
and
good
Wendigo.
episode too.
Bloody Mary.
The
Yeah.
Bloody Mary one.
Oh my gosh.
That was really good.
Okay, ladies, I'm gonna go. You guys head out. I'm gonna go binge watch some Supernatural now. This was a really good episode.
This was
Yes.
fun.
I'm excited. All right, ladies. Well, until next time, we'll have to figure out what we're gonna chit chat about next
I
time.
know. And then
Have
you
some
can
ideas.
start thinking of a drink.
I know. That's my favorite part. Is
Cocktail
like,
to
what am I
make.
gonna make for a
Yes, it should
cocktail?
be.
We do.
I am a former bartender, so that kind of is in my blood.
So she is kind of a professional.
I'm kind of a professional. So, all right, ladies. Well, thanks so much for listening, everyone. And we will see you next time.
Okay.
We'll save a seat at the bar for you.
Yes, we will. Remember, tell your friends, share our podcast with your friends.
rate, review, subscribe. Cheers.
Cheers.